So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you very much for joining us today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we seek your good wishes and your blessings so that we can continue with our overview of the third canto. We seek the blessings of Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada so that we can continue to look at the third canto of Bhagavad Gita, of Srimad Bhagavatam, and try to understand a little bit about the glories of the Supreme Lord, so that we can please Radha and Krishna, Krishna Balaram, Gonitai. So we are at 15th chapter. Yesterday we looked at how Maitreya Rishi explained the birth of the four Kumaras, Rudra as a result of his anger, the 10 sages. He also described in brief the incident with Lord Brahma's daughter. Then he talked about the advent of Swambhu Manu and his wife, Surupa. And that led to the pastimes of Lord Varaha. He said it in very brief, and Vidur wanted a lot more detail. And then Maitreya started explaining about how the reasons behind Varaha's appearance, which is the son of Kashyap and Diti, who were causing, the two sons were causing havoc. So just tracking the conversations, I think we haven't seen this for a few days. So we were at that stage, Vidur and Maitreya having lots of discussions. And then there was this conversation between Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu about the creation, 3.9. There was one previously about the Chatusloki as well, if devotees recall. And then we came back to Vidur and Maitreya, and that's where we are. That's the conversation. That's where it is. So 15th chapter, 3rd canto, 24th verse goes like this. Vyartitam apicha no nrigatim papana Jnanam cha tattva vishayam sahadhamam vatra naradham ragato vitaranti amusya samohita vitaya pata mayayate.
Lord Brahma said, "My dear demigods, the human form of life is of such importance that we also desire to have such life. For in the human form, one can attain perfect religious truth and knowledge. If one is in this human form of life if one in this human form of life does not understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and its abode, it is to be understood that he is very much affected by the influence of external nature."
So I had another verse here before, which was when I think the four Kumaras are saying to the Lord, send me to hell, it doesn't matter. Send us to hell, it doesn't matter, as long as we remember you. But then I thought, no, this verse is actually more important because we've attained human form of life. Even the demigods are desiring, if you see Brahma saying, we also desire to have such a life. So we've got what the demigods want, what Lord Brahma wants. Why? Because human life is especially in Kali Yuga, is regarded to be the best way to go back to Godhead. In this age of Kali, the Lord has made the process very easy, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very kindly has given this Maha Mantra to us. We can perfect our lives in this very life. And that's why even the demigods want to come down here and become humans in this age of Kali. So this is our fantastic opportunity. So this chapter's description is description of the kingdom of God. And initially the universal darkness is explained. Diti's embryos, which he keeps in her womb for 100 years. She didn't want him to come out because she knew they were not going to be nice people. Causes the light emanating from the sun and the moon to dim. They were very powerful even in the womb of their mother. The ensuing darkness frightens the demigods who go to Brahma for protection. Here, they're not even born yet. The Kumaras travel to Vaikuntha is the next section. Brahma describes, so Lord Brahma describes to the devatas what's happened in the past, just to assure them that this is all part of the Lord's plan. So he describes how his sons, the 4 Kumaras, entered Vaikuntha. And this is a wonderful description of Vaikuntha given actually in these 14 chapters, about 12, 13 verses, 15 chapters, yeah. So it's basically, let's just quickly go through those. All the residents are similar in form to Lord Vishnu, engaged in devotional service to the Lord. Vishnu is full of uncontaminated mode of goodness, no place for passion or ignorance. He contributes religious progress for his devotees. These are all descriptions in these verses. There are many forests with desire trees, always filled with flowers and fruits all the time, no matter what the season was. The inhabitants fly in their airplanes made of emerald, gold, with their wives and consorts. The king of bees hums in high pitch, singing the glories of the Lord. There is a temporary lull in the singing of the cuckoo, parrot, peacock, etc., to hear the bees. Tulsi is given special preference by the Lord, who garlands himself with Tulsi leaves. The ladies in Vaikuntha planets are as beautiful as the goddess of fortune herself. The goddesses of fortune worship the Lord in their own gardens by offering Tulsi leaves. So, very nice description of Vaikuntha. Don't think there is many scriptures outside of Sanatana Dharma which can give descriptions of the Godhead, Vaikuntha, or Golok even. And then this point, this verse 24, which we read, the human form desired even by Brahma is a perfect platform to develop spiritual consciousness by hearing about Vaikuntha and returning back to Godhead. The Kumaras barred to go into Vaikuntha and cursing of the gatekeepers. By the strength of Yoga Maya, the 4 Kumaras, after reaching Vaikuntha, crossed 6 gates without being astonished. So there's 7 gates and they crossed 6 of them. The Kumaras were naked, although the oldest beings, they looked like 5-year-old boys and had no concept of ours and theirs. Passing the 7th gate, Jay and Vijay, the gatekeepers, blocked their way. The Kumaras' eyes turned red with anger because of their desire to see the Lord. Vaikuntha, this is what they were saying, is in complete harmony. But these two have fear due to this duality, the duality of fear or harmony. They must be imposters, and they should fall into the material world where the living entities have 3 kinds of enemies. Can I just ask, do devotees know what these 3 kinds of enemies are? Would anybody like to share?
Prabhuji, me.
Yes. Okay. Yes, Riansh. What are the 3 types of enemies?
Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, and second time they were born as Ravana and Kumbhakana. Third time they are born as Shishpala and Dantavakra.
Well done. That's really good. So you know the 3 births they take as demons. Well, congratulations, Riansh. Very well done. And anybody know the 3 kinds of enemies? Yes.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna. I think it's lust, anger, and greed.
Yeah. I'm looking for something a little different, but yes, lust, anger, and greed, definitely. Of course, there are a lot more than that, isn't it? Pride, envy, jealousy.
Is it something like I don't know the word, but advisha or some words like that? Enemies of your own health, of your outside, and the society. Is it that?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, I don't know. Can you tell me the names, please? How?
Adi Devik, that's the demigods. This is natural disasters, flooding, etc. Adi Bodhik, this is from our own mind. No, Adi Bodhik is other living entities, and Adi Atmik is our own mind giving us trouble. So the 3 types of enemies. So Adi Devik, Adi Bodhik, and Adi Atmik. Is that okay, Nanibin?
I'm sorry, I read it last night and I forgot about it.
Okay.
Adi Devi, Adi Bhautik,
Bodhik.
Yeah.
And Adi Atmik.
Adi Atmik, yeah.
Good. So basically the three enemies are what nature gives us, what other livings give us, living beings give us, and what we give ourselves. Three enemies.
And they're more like miseries as well. 3, 4 miseries, three kinds.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
So this is like the four Kumaras, just to have a picture of it. Some wonderful soul managed to get a picture and sent us the negative. Lord Narayan, the next section, Lord Narayan appears in the description of his wonderful form. The gatekeepers accept their fault. Right? So they could see these are really powerful souls. They're little babies, but they're powerful souls. Begged that they do not forget the Lord. So they said, no problem, we can take the curse, but please let us not forget the Lord. And this is actually a phenomenal prayer, and should form as part of our prayers as well. That wherever I am, my dear Lord, whatever I'm doing, please let me not forget you. Because as long as we don't forget the Supreme Lord, we're in the spiritual world. But as soon as we forget him, then even if we're in heaven, we're actually in hell. Hearing his servants being have offended the Kumaras, the exquisitely beautiful Lord Narayan, attracted by the inner humility of both parties. So this is a point. He came because he actually saw he felt the inner humility of the Kumaras, because immediately after they cursed, they felt very sorry within their hearts. And the gatekeepers, they were naturally humble because they'd just been cursed. He appeared there with Lakshmi Devi. A description of the Lord's beautiful form is given. Again, there is a nice photographer who has sent this beautiful picture of Lord Vishnu. Magnificent. So description is given. What his face looks like is auspicious, pleasing, most desirable, blessing everyone. His complexion and his nose, blackish complexion. His nose is prominent, broad chest, where Lakshmi Devi resides. His waist is covered with a yellow cloth with shining golden girdle. His neck is fresh, has a fresh garland surrounded by bees and necklace of Kaustubha jewels. Hands, one of them is resting on the shoulder of Gareth, and Garuda, sorry, and the other is holding a lotus flower. His cheeks, they enhance the beauty of the earrings, which outshine lightning. His head is covered with a gem studded crown. So that's a magnificent description given of the Lord. Beautiful description. And to hear these descriptions of Vaikuntha and the Lord actually should make our hearts go fonder of the Lord and his residence. So then, next few verses, conversion of the four Kumaras from Gyanis to Bhaktas, smelling the aroma of tulsi leaves offered to his lotus feet. The sages give up their impersonal understanding and viewing the Lord's transcendental body again and again, they achieve full meditation on the Lord's personal form. This is factual, not imaginary, form of the Lord, which is meditated upon by the followers of the yoga process. And it is pleasing to the yogis in meditation. The four Kumaras, now this is a really interesting point. The four Kumaras attained Shanta Bhakti and not pure Dasya Bhakti because of their offense to Jain Vijay. Actually, they shouldn't have got angry at Jain Vijay. Jain Vijay was simply doing their job. So when they saw four boys, they immediately assumed that, what are they doing in Vaikuntha? A natural sort of reaction. So they shouldn't have got angry. So it's described by the Acharyas that The 4 Kumaras didn't achieve Dasya Ras, they achieved Shanta. Shanta Ras is where they're sort of a neutral towards the Lord. Neutral in the sense they're enjoying the pastimes, but they're not actively engaged in the pastimes. That's an interesting point. And here they are, 4 Kumaras. They're smelling the feet of the Lord, the Tulsi, and they're just hovering around the Lord. And the Lord beautifully is treating them so amazingly. And he's describing in a minute why he's treating them like he is. The Kumaras express their understanding that the absolute truth is the Lord's personal feature. Their aspiration is to always be engaged in his service, even if they fall into hell. So this is an interesting point, that wherever we are, my dear Lord, let us not forget you. That's a very important prayer. They understood that the Lord is not manifested to rascals, even though he is seated within the heart of everyone. However, persons who are very expert and most intelligent in understanding things as they are, engage in hearing narrations of the auspicious activities and pastimes of the Lord, and do not care even for the highest material benediction, namely liberation, what to speak of the heavenly kingdom. They offer their respectful obeisances unto the eternal form as a personality of Godhead, which was so kindly manifested before them. This supreme eternal form cannot be seen by unfortunate, less intelligent persons, but they become so much satisfied in their mind and vision to see the Lord. This supreme eternal form cannot be seen, but those devotees who do see it become so much satisfied in their mind and vision to see the Lord. So that's the end of 15th chapter. Incredible chapter. So many amazing verses in this chapter. Anybody, any questions, any comment, any realizations when you read the chapter?
2 things, Prabhuji.
Yes.
One is, did this pregnancy lasting for 100 years? Because those people at that time, they lived long, thousands of years, isn't it?
That's right.
So maybe, I don't know, but her pregnancy lasted because of a different reason. She did not bring her 2 sons into the world.
Yeah.
But I thought another reason could be because the people lived for such a long time there compared to what we are doing now. So maybe. Then the second thing is, why the Kumars were such a baby-like? Any reason for that?
Yeah, they were cursed.
Yeah.
Because they said to Brahma, we're not going to do what you want us to do. Why should we get entangled in this world? You want us to have children. We don't want children. So Brahma cursed them. Okay, then remain as babies. That was it. And that was a blessing. Of course, that was a blessing, because as babies, they didn't have, they couldn't generate any feelings of lust or, like normal people would. So it was a blessing.
Yes.
It was a curse. It was a blessing as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. And yes, in terms of time spent in the womb, I haven't come across anywhere. Maybe somebody would have that. If in Satya Yuga they live for 100,000 years, how long was the pregnancy? From the Bhagavatam, it seems to be that it's like it is the 9-10 months roughly. That's what the Bhagavatam's description is, and we'll see that in later cantos. So, but she had the power to hold the children within her womb because one, she was very, very powerful. She's the daughter of Daksha, one of the Prajapatis, and Diti was also a saintly person, actually.
And also, Nabi, it's their existence in a different plane as well, which allows them with subtle bodies and all that. And then we like Daksha and Shiva, and they're all related in one sense as well, but it was only, and she can actually extend the pregnancy and not deliver at will whenever they wanted to. But also we can see how, you know, the pregnancies are in different lengths in different species of life as well. So although we might compare it like it's a human birth, but you know, these guys were demons at the end of the day as well, you know. So I don't know. I might be, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. Different species have different lengths of time.
Hare Krishna, Babuji.
Hare Krishna.
I think Prahlad Maharaj also, he stayed in the womb for long, and Sukhdev Goswami also, he came when he wanted to come, right? And unless Lord Vishnu came personally to assure him that Maya would not touch him, then he came. I think they had this potential of keeping their babies in the womb for longer time at those times, maybe the mothers.
That's true. That's true.
Yes.
That's true. And yeah, go on.
Yeah, because of the chastity of the Matajis.
Yes.
They had that power.
Yes.
Good point. Good points. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Madhusudan and Indulekha. Bhagavatam chapter 16 now of third canto, text 7 is this.
Yat sevaya charana padma pavitranenum sadhya kata sakila malam patilabda shilam nashre viraktam api mam vijahati yasya prekshalavate itare niyamam pahanti. The Lord continued, because I am the servant of my devotees, my lotus feet have become so sacred that they immediately wipe out all sin, and I have acquired such a disposition that the goddess of fortune does not leave me, even though I have no attachment for her, while others praise her beauty and observe sacred vows to secure from her even a slight favor.
Such a wonderful comment by the Lord. He's a servitor of his own devotees. So we shouldn't be surprised when Ramachandra comes to this world and he's worshipping Lord Shiva. It's so bewildering for those who don't necessarily understand, and then they mistake the devotee to be the Lord. But actually the Lord loves to serve his devotees. It's not a one-way direction. And the devotee will always say, no, I don't want your service, my dear Lord. I want to serve you. And the Lord will say, no, I have to serve. I want to give you something. He said to Prahlad Maharaj so many times, Nrsingadev, what can I give you? Prahlad Maharaj would say, nothing. I'm so happy to see you. That's enough for me. Anyway. So chapter 16, they entitled the two doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, Jay and Vijay, cursed by sages. So Lord Narayan begs forgiveness. Since the gatekeepers are his servants, Lord Narayan considered their offense to be to the worshipable Kumaras his fault. So their offense was his offense. The Lord states that the Brahmana is the highest and the most beloved personality. So he's really now glorifying the four Kumaras and the Brahminical culture. I do not enjoy the oblations of food-by sacrifices in the sacrificial fire, which is one of my own mouths. With the same relish as I do, the delicacies overflowing with ghee, which are offered to the mouths of the Brahmanas, who have dedicated to me the results of their activities, and who are ever satisfied with my prasad. Text number 8. So he gives a lot of prominence to the Brahminical culture. So how important they are. He begs forgiveness from them and asks them to mitigate the curse by allowing the gatekeepers to swiftly return back to Vaikuntha. This is the Lord begging the four Kumaras. Kumaras glorify the Lord, understanding that they, having been bitten by the serpent of anger, have cursed faultless persons. The Kumaras not fully understanding the Lord's speech, they couldn't understand, why is he asking for forgiveness? Glorify the Lord's supremacy and beg him for direction. They appreciate how the Lord acts as an example, teaching how to worship the Brahmanas. They also state, you are the supreme director of the Brahminical culture. Your considering the Brahmanas to be in the highest position is your example for teaching others. Actually, you are the supreme worshipable deity, not only for the gods, but for the Brahmanas also. Text 17. Accepting their error, they said to the Lord that whatever punishment he wishes to award to these two innocent persons, or also to us, they shall accept. So this is incredible exchange between the Lord and his devotees. Lord assures gatekeepers. The gatekeepers being cursed was preordained because they had previously angered Lakshmi Devi by barring her entrance because the Lord was sleeping. So these two, Jay and Vijay, had a bit of a past. Throughout their exile, they would remember the Lord in anger. So this was the assurance given by the Lord to them. And they would soon return to Vaikuntha. After this, the four Kumaras, having seen the object of bliss for their eyes, circumambulated the Lord and with his permission left. The Lord then addressed Jay and Vijay and told them to go to the material world without fear. The Lord assured the two Vaikuntha inhabitants that by practicing the mystic yoga system in anger, they will be cleansed of the sin of disobeying the Brahmanas, and within a very short time, return to him. So this is their fall. Their beauty and luster diminished by the curse of the Brahmanas. Jay and Vijay became morose and fell from Vaikuntha, the abode of the Supreme Lord. The demigods who were seated on their splendid airplanes were disheartened by the fall of Jay and Vijay. Brahma reveals to the demigods. So this is coming back to the conversation now between Brahma and the demigods. That they have entered, the two Jay and Vijay, entered Diti's womb as twin asuras. And it is they who are creating the universal disturbance. Brahma also informs the demigods that there is no remedy within his power. So they came to ask for help, and Brahma is saying, can't help you. However, for it is the Lord himself who desires to do this all. The Lord is the controller of the universe, and his powers, Yoga Maya, cannot be easily understood, even by the masters of yoga. That most ancient person, the Supreme Lord, will alone come to the rescue. What purpose can be served on his behalf by deliberating on this subject? So it's basically telling the demigods, I can't do anything, go home, Supreme Lord will come, don't talk about this, don't waste your time. He'll come and he'll sort all this out. It's his plan, it's his purpose, it's his plan. Very interesting. Any questions or any comments? Fascinating chapter, really fascinating. Naniben?
We see how the Lord loved the Brahmanas.
Yeah.
How he take the curse, he take like the offense as if he himself had committed the offense.
Yeah.
To protect the Brahmanas a lot.
It's phenomenal, isn't it? Phenomenal.
But also Prabhupada in the purport explains, who the Brahmanas are really qualified. They're the ones who study Vedas and look after cows and, according to Vedic principles. But there's one about the so-called Brahmins, not by caste or anything.
That's a good point. Very good point. And he says it also in the translation that it's those who are following this Brahminical culture. They're actually devoted to the Lord. Very good.
Yeah, that's right. That the Brahmins are the ones who are actually followers of Vedic injunctions and also, worshippers of Vishnu and Krishna. Yeah, that's important. Yeah.
Okay. Naniben, did you have a comment?
No.
Okay. So
it also says, Prabhuji, that if someone has taken his birth in a Brahmana's family, that does not make him a Brahman if he's not practicing the spiritual activities. Someone else who is not from a Brahman family and is practicing the spiritual knowledge and praying to the Lord, they are higher than the so-called Brahmanas.
Yeah.
That is in the purport, right?
Yeah, correct. Absolutely right.
Yeah, that's the point about the Vaishnavas being automatically Brahmanas as well. But that transcend a bit beyond the Brahminical culture. Yeah, that's interesting point. Yeah, but it's a shame that in Sanatana Dharma in Bharat, when the Brahmins were there, according to Prabhupada's purport, says those who are in a position to help to protect the helpless should be doing their duty to protect. If they don't, then they actually do get punished by Yamaraj. So is including, those who are in the position of protecting the cows, especially the women, daughters, like the daughter is protected by the father and then eventually passed on the protection of her husband. But if women left unprotected also, then the cows and the Brahmins, and so all these different aspects are to be protected the way they're protected. But if not, and unfortunately in India, Bharat, we've seen how the Brahmins used to treat the untouchables and this and not guide properly and all that. And then Prabhupada said in Kali Yuga, as the head gets corrupted, then whole body starts to get diseased, so it's like the Varnashram system, isn't it? So
True.
Yeah.
Okay, so chapter 17, we can breeze through, I think. This is text number 30. Pasyaminayam purushat puratanat yasam yoge tvam nanamarga kovidam aradhya visyati ashura sapehitam manosvinoyam prinete pavadishaha.
You are so skilled in war that I do not see anyone else but the most ancient person, Lord Vishnu, who can give satisfaction in battle to you. Therefore, O chief of the Asuras, approach him, whom even heroes like you mention with praise.
So this is wonderful diplomatic talk by Varun, who is in charge of water. And this fellow, Hiranyaksh, came to approach him for a fight. And he says so sweetly that, there's nobody better than you. I can see nobody apart from the Supreme Person giving you a battle who can match your talent. Oh, chief of the Asuras, you should, you're a hero, you go and approach him. Really amazing diplomacy. So chapter 17, the title is Victory of Hiranyaksh over all the directions of the universe. The ominous omens after the birth of the twin brothers. The Devatas returned to their planets relieved. Diti was apprehensive about the birth of the twins, as many fearful catastrophes appear in the universe. There are earthquakes, fires, storms, high wailing waves, she-jackals vomit fire, dogs howl, asses stampede, planets colliding, deities shedding tears. So these are all really not good signs. And this was what was taking place at that time. The twins are massive, powerful, beautifully decorated. Kashyap Muni named them. The firstborn twin, Jay, was called Hiranyaksh, and Vijay was called Hiranyakashipu. I think I've got the names the right way around. It's interesting how Prabhupada or Bhagavatam also says the eldest was Hiranyakashipu because he was injected first into the womb. But the first one who came out was Hiranyaksha. So, thinking themselves immortal, they are proud and fearless. Because of his invincibility, Hiranyaksh rules the universe. Even the demigods hide from them in fear, not finding the demigods. Hiranyaksha roared loudly in frustration. He wanted to fight. So this is where he goes to Varun. Diving into and moving about for many years in the ocean, Hiranyaksha impudently falls at Varun's feet, begging him for battle. Varun controlling his anger by using his intelligence. He was furious at Hiranyaksha. How impudent you are. He pleaded old age, and he said no. Instead, he suggests Hiranyakashipu approach Vishnu. Hiranyaksha approach Vishnu, who alone would satisfy him in battle, but who would also kill him. So Varun told him straight and plain, you will die. Varun states, it is in order to exterminate wicked fellows like you and show his grace to the virtues that he assumes his various incarnations like Varaha. So this is the end of chapter 17. Are there any questions, any comments?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
It explained a lot in here about these two brothers, and Hiranyakashipu was the older, so the younger brother would go around challenging others for fight and how they were conquering everywhere. And also amazing thing is I learned is that the twins, the one who was conceived first and he came out last, so he is the oldest. Usually we would say the one who came out first is the oldest.
Exactly. Hiranyakashipu
Right?
was older in that way.
Yeah.
In
So I learned about that when I went for Gumti's wedding in India. So the priest was saying that no, Gumti is not older because she came out first. So Ganga was older. Is older.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you see, in Bhagavatam we get all this knowledge where people cannot even know. There is hardly some scientific explanation for all these things, but in Bhagavatam we get all these very nicely explained.
Yeah, very good point. Yeah, good point, Margie. Anybody else? Any comments or any questions? Okay, we can go into the lessons.
Okay, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Lessons from the Canto Free, chapter 1. If we make our home a temple, the Lord will definitely visit us. Chapter 2. In this age of Kali, our only tapasya is to chant the holy name of the Lord. Chapter 3. We all need a guru to guide us on the spiritual path. Chapter 4. No matter how learned one may be, one should not try to instruct someone who is well versed in spiritual knowledge and who is older than them. Chapter 5, the Lord's external energy is Maya, and through her, the entire material world is created. Chapter 6, we should always engage in discussion of the activities and glories of the Lord, which are nicely written by the sages for our benefits. Chapter 7, by serving the spiritual master, one develops transcendental ecstasy in the service of the Lord, who vanquishes one's material distress. Chapter 8, the Supreme Personality of Godhead spoke this Srimad Bhagavatam to the great sages for the benefit of those entangled in the material miseries. Chapter 9, if you want to escape the anxiety of the material world, we need to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Chapter 10, all living entities are struggling with the forces of material nature, but by the transcendental knowledge and realization and by surrendering unto the Lord, we can control this material energy. Chapter 11, the Lord controls all the physical movement by his time potency, yet he is not visible in the physical world. Chapter 12, we should always try to control our anger because once escalates, the anger turns into wrath. Chapter 13, we should live our life in pursuance of the principle of devotional service and worship. Sorry, I cannot say this.
Worship of the Lord by performance of yajna.
Yes, and 14 is as a good combination for spiritual advancement.
is needed in the human
is
society.
needed in the human society. The boys should be trained as brahmacharis and girls in the virtue of chastity.
Nice. Good. Thank you.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
yeah, number 5, if you can go back, please. Lord's external energies, Maya. There are 2 types of Mayas, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yogmaya and Mahamaya.
Yeah.
So they're talking about, are they talking about
Mahamaya.
Mahamaya, isn't it? Yogmaya is the internal potency.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, well done, Maji. Wow. Not a lot of people know that. Very good. Very good. And Mahamaya is what we are covered by.
Yes.
And the devotees of the Lord, they're covered by Yoga Maya. Like in Vrindavan, they don't believe Krishna is Supreme Lord. Yes, he's an amazing personality, but God is Vishnu. But Krishna is always protected by Vishnu. So they're covered by Yoga Maya, by the Lord's internal potency. And the funny thing is, the amazing thing is, even the Lord covers himself with his Yoga Maya so that he can relish the pastimes.
Prevents us from seeing him, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In his, because if we saw him as a Supreme Lord, we wouldn't necessarily treat him
Yes.
like he would want us to treat him, with affection and love and, that parental feeling for Yashoda and Nand wouldn't be there. And he would miss that. He inspires Yoga Maya. And then he covers himself. So when he's being chastised, he doesn't remember he's the Supreme Lord. So this is Yoga Maya. It's very powerful, very, very powerful. Sometimes more powerful than the Lord himself. And we'll see that when we talk about the Damodar Leela, when the month of Damodar comes, how the Lord covers himself by Yoga Maya.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much, Maj. Nani Ben. Okay, Madhusudan Prabhu.
Jai Haribol, Nabi, Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Guru Maharaj ki jai. Yeah, these instructions, all these chapters are amazing. So, it's there are lots of instructions. It's quite difficult to choose the right ones, as well. But for us, it's especially when there are instructions, given by the 4 Kumaras, then in exchange, the Lord gives them the instruction. Then also, anyway, chapter 15. In this chapter, Tulsi Devi has been mentioned a few times. Like, although, like the flowering, it's in the description of the Vaikuntha, we understand that the flowering plants and the birds and, the residents are flying around airplanes and all that. But they're far more conscious and they're more aware and they're serving the Supreme Lord there. So they're still conscious of the austerities performed by Tulsi. For Tulsi is given special preference by the Lord, who garlands himself with Tulsi leaves. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport instructs that the Tulsi leaf has numerous good qualities, but if it not were offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, Tulsi could not be of much value or importance. So similarly, one may speak very nicely from the rhetoric and grammatical point of view, which may be very much appreciated by the materialistic audience. But if one's words are not offered to the service of the Lord, then they are useless. Also hearing. So when we're speaking, we should be speaking to glorify another. But our ears also, like Prabhupada explained, the holes of our ears are very small and can be filled with any insignificant sound. So how can they receive as great a vibration as the glorification of the Lord? And the answer is that the holes of the ears are like the sky. And as the sky can never be filled up, the quality of the ears is such that one may go on pouring in vibrations of various kinds, yet it is capable of receiving more and more and more vibrations. But the devotee is not, like the 4 Kumaras are being explained, that, they're not afraid of going. And it's in this purport that the devotee is not afraid of going to hell if he has the opportunity to hear the glories of the Lord constantly. So this is the advantage of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So one may be put in any condition, but God gives him the prerogative to chant Hare Krishna. In any condition of life, if one goes on chanting, he'll never be unhappy. So for our happiness also, if we keep chanting, that is, very auspicious for us, and we're not going to be unhappy in any way. And we've seen situations of devotees who've been in a most very, very difficult situations. Like I can remember the Russian devotee, the first disciple of Prabhupada, how he was, by the KGB, he was tortured a lot, and then he was, like he went through hell, but the only thing that kept him going was the chanting of the Maha Mantra. So a lot of examples like that. In chapter 16, I can't see this properly. Right, in this chapter, Lord Brahma explains how the Supreme Lord instructs the 4 Kumaras. So to me, the Brahmanas, so this is very, it's important, we talked about it, so I probably won't go through this in detail, but as an instruction, it's important that the Brahmanas and the cows and all that are protected. And as I said in the purport, that the Lord always is in favor of the Brahmanas and the cows, and therefore it is the sort of Go Brahmana Hitaya, as the verse says, the Supreme Personality is also worshipable deity of the Brahmanas. So again, I won't repeat this because we covered this, that the Lord protects the Brahmanas, and the Brahmanas' duty is also to protect and guide the society. Is there 17?
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, and in this one, again, it's the instruction of Varuna, how he instructs Hiranyakashipu to seek out the battle with Lord Vishnu or Lord Varaha. So Varaha continue on reaching him, you will rid of your pride. So actually the instruction is that, Lord will destroy your pride, is this, and when we've seen that. But in the purport, Prabhupada said, aggressive materialistic warriors are actually punished by the Supreme Lord for their policy of unnecessary disturbing world peace. So, there are these demoniac forces, and in Kali Yuga, as always, the world peace is never there, but they do get punished actually by the Supreme Lord eventually. Okay.
Thank you very much. Very good. Anybody comments or questions? Okay, thank you so much. We can.
Sorry, Prabhuji.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hiranyaksha, why did he went out seeking Lord Varun for a fight? Or he just wanted some type of a mischief with someone? I don't know why.
Everybody else ran away, you see.
Huh?
Indra ran away.
So he wanted a fight with somebody. Okay.
He wanted a fight with, he wanted a worthy opponent because he'd conquered the whole universe. Everybody ran away. Everybody was hiding. He knew Varun can't hide because he's in the ocean. So it's described for years, he was looking for Varun in the ocean. Eventually he found him. And then he challenged him. Come on, and I'll have a fight with you. Everybody else has run away. And then Varun.
What amazing is that this description of the under the ocean cities, where Varuna actually rules. And when we think that there is no life anywhere and there are no cities, and actually in different cultures, when we think about New York as a metropolis, it's even massive metropolis is under the ocean as well.
That's a good point. That's a very good point, actually.
Yeah.
So does that answer the question, Adiban?
Yes.
He just wanted to fight. It doesn't matter who he was. But he had to be a worthy opponent. He was actually, like he was looking for somebody worthy to fight with. And of course, the Lord obliged. And one of the things we also can understand from all of this is Lord made this arrangement because in Vaikuntha, he can't fight. We saw the description of Vaikuntha. They all look like the Lord, they're all in harmony. They're all serving the Lord. There's no question of a fight with the Lord. And the Lord likes to fight now and then. So the only place he can fight is this world. And he won't fight with just anybody. He'll fight with worthy opponents. And who are worthy? His own devotees. So he sends his own devotees as demons to fight with them. They're worthy opponents.
And they're Jai and Vijay at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay, thank you so much. Let's